Local Public.
Cuddy.
He did all the layout, she can't do it herself anymore. Well, she wrote this. She wrote the newsletter.
Call to order. This is the Borough of Crafton public meeting dated March 10th, 2014. Flag salute by Mr. O'Brien, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Amendola?
Yes.
Ms. Amendola?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Ms. Post?
Here.
Ms. Whitfield?
Here.
Mr. Hayes?
Here.
Mayor Bloom?
Here.
Engineer Minsterman?
Here.
Andrew Callen?
Here.
Director Beachy?
Yes.
And Junior Thompson?
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bill list dated March 10th, 2014.
So moved. Second.
Having been moved and seconded, any discussion on the bill list?
Yes, I had a question. There was an entry there for $635, I think it was. Yeah, that's it, Campbell, Durant, and Beatty. Is that the, who is that?
He's our labor coach.
And we were charged $600 for that one little meeting that we had with the guy, or?
No, there were several charges.
Oh, there were other charges?
Several different personnel issues.
So, okay. So it wasn't just that one meeting we had. Okay, that's all I wanted.
Any other discussion on the bill list? Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Amendola?
Yes.
Ms. Amendola?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Post?
Yes.
Ms. Whitfield?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes dated February 24th, 2014.
So moved. Second.
Having been moved and seconded, any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Amendola?
Yes.
Ms. Amendola?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Post?
Yes.
Ms. Whitfield?
Dad,
And Mr. Hayes?
Yes. Motion carries. Now we'll go into citizen comments. So we have a number of people.
President Hayes, can I interject before you go into citizen comments? I would like for us as a council as a whole to lay out some ground rules. At the last meeting that I was in attendance, profanities were used on me in front of children in the audience. I want to know how we can, as a council, ensure that that doesn't happen. Because that's not appropriate behavior, that's not leadership, and that's not representing Crafton.
Yeah, profanity will not be accepted. If the hostility happens in this meeting or profanity gets used, we'll recess the meeting until whomever council member has acted that way can control themselves. And then once we get back into the meeting, we'll conduct the meeting moving forward. If it continues, we will just end the meeting and deal with it after offline. And if that means business doesn't get attended to, well, we'll have to figure out how to do that. But we will not conduct meetings anymore with profanity.
Okay. Can we ensure that there's a level of respect as well?
Yeah, I think we should, we ask for discussion. We expect that discussion to be thoughtful, to be sincere, let everyone speak. Some of these can get longer than others, so if we end up getting into a long discussion about something, we may have to limit each council person to a certain time limit of discussion. Not everyone will get a chance to retort, if you will, to every other council member's statements, but everyone will have a chance to speak. Is that fun?
Yeah, it's the rules of kindergarten.
All right. Citizen comments. So there's a number of you who have signed up for citizen comments. It looks to be about 12. The major topic looks to be trees, but there's also sewage bill was raised. Actually, there's someone that hadn't identified what they wanted to talk about. So in these types of situations, we typically ask for a spokesperson to speak to the topic rather than listen to all, 10 individuals. But after that spokesperson finishes, if you want to add, anyone wants to add something, you'll have your opportunity to add anything. So we can go listen through all 10 folks, or we can actually have a spokesperson that addresses the issue. When you come up to the microphone, please state your name, where you live, and try to hold your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi. I'm gonna nominate myself as a spokesperson for the group that I assembled here.
Okay,
And
step
then
up
I'm
to the
gonna-
microphone, please.
Share the floor with my engineer. Can I pass out
Sure.
images? Thanks. You can just pass one of each around to the council members. I think you appreciate it. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Philip Lavasser at 401 Clearview. I'm here to address the council about the Phase 3 of Clearview Avenue's reconstruction project. The group and I would like to address the important matter of the natural resource that's in front of my home, which is the 4 London Plain sycamores that have been there for about 100 years. The borough and I have been working together to have a dialogue about the trees, and we had a meeting last week with Gateway Engineers, the borough engineer, Mr. Minister here, and we'd like to, in unison, tell you how important it is that we try to come up with a solution to preserve the trees if we can. Last week, we came up with a solution that would serve multiple purposes. One, it would be a traffic safety calming device, and that is a bump out to help preserve the trees. Because in this project, Phase 3 calls for the removal of the trees. We'd like to not see the trees removed because of the ecological services that they provide to my property and to the community right away, and to the hillside there. With that, one of the things that we need to address is the fact that the cartway is 19 feet wide, and so this bump out concept that the engineer will discuss is a compromise between myself and the engineer. It's a creative solution to help the borough not incur about, from what I understand, about $20,000 of cost to remove the trees, and will save us from incurring any other kind of liabilities down the road with any kind of stability issues that will come thereafter from the trees being removed. Initially, we wanted just a 6-inch bump out, but due to the fact that the cartway is undersized as it is on that tight bend of Clearview Avenue, we thought the traffic calming device, the bump out there, would be sufficient. We would just ask for the borough's approval to make that part of the street a couple spots a no parking zone, and allow for more visibility around that sharp turn, and allow more visibility around Harris and Clearview on that corner there. So I'm going to allow Mrs. Corinne Cassidy to also speak to the issue regarding the 4 London Plains, as she's our engineer. Thank you.
Hi, just to reinforce,
Your name,
oh, I'm
please.
sorry, Corinne Cassidy. I work for a company called Collective Efforts. I'm a civil engineer, professional engineer.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Could you,
I was just wondering if she's a resident.
No, I live
No,
on
she-
Poplar Street.
she's
actually.
my consultant.
I'm doing this as a favor. So,
Okay.
But what we did is, I looked at the trees that were in the front. The trees are right in the small area between the sidewalk and the curb. The curb's in disrepair now, which is part of this project. And so what we are asking for is a bump out. It will allow a little bit more space for the trees to not be impacted by the construction. It will make the cartway a bit narrower, but with no parking allowed there, it will still not impede traffic flow. we're looking at this as a green solution. A lot of cities now are using bump outs as a method of calming traffic and allowing street rain gardens and that type of a thing, and allowing the street trees to be planted instead of just having kind of a tree coffin little box that a lot of cities have done in the past unsuccessfully. So we are hoping that you will consider this bump out, because we're not certain about with the excavation or the proposed road improvements. If the excavation does go down 24 inches, it would probably impact the trees to the point where they would be damaged beyond repair. So we don't know that for sure what the excavation is going to be. It could be that they just take the bricks off and do some forming of the curb right along the tree roots. And if that's the case, you know, maybe this doesn't need to be done, but what we're thinking is we don't know that now. We don't know if the soils underneath the brick are unsuitable. We don't know the condition of the material underneath the brick. So just in case, we are proposing the street bump out to allow for the trees to exist. Things that we're considering is too, if the trees are removed, the root mass has been there for over 100 years. So when that root mass starts to decompose, it's not going to do it, you know, right as soon as you cut the trees down. You're going to have differential settlement over the next 5 years. So you'll have your street that you put in potentially impacted, the curb potentially impacted. You'll have the sidewalk impacted, and even the retaining wall that's behind the sidewalk. And so we have some concerns about the integrity of those as the future goes on if the trees are removed. So these are some things to consider. And
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it one bump out per tree, or is it just one continuous?
It's a continuous bump out. We talked about 20-inch bump out, 24-inch bump out. I mean, that's something that, if you guys allow it, you could work with the engineer, just making the street a little bit narrower in front of those 4 trees.
And one of the issues that I want to help the community with is the fact that when we have ambulances, fire trucks, box trucks, any kind of large vehicle, my pickup truck, when there are vehicles parked in front of there, the vehicles cannot make a pass. They would have to, they ride on the curb. I mean, it already happens, the curb there is already destroyed from the fact that we have vehicles riding on that slope. And as an engineer, the borough engineer will tell the council, that slope initially was proposed to be reinforced, but due to budgetary issues in the borough, the engineer has proposed just monitoring that slope. That slope is non-vegetated. So in the state of Pennsylvania, we have an erosion sedimentation control plan. Right now with this project, it doesn't meet the vegetative state for a slope on that roadway. So there's an additional project down the road, and we'd like to see the trees stay because right now they provide an ecological service, which is that tree canopy during the summer provides a lot of mitigation from rainfall. It enables that slope to be sheltered from all the rainfall, and if we don't have that canopy anymore, there's 2 things. My yard will see more runoff, and we'll also see more runoff on that slope that's non-vegetated. That's not to be vegetated in this stage of the project. Hopefully, as the engineer will tell you, with the sewer reconstruction project, the storm sewer reconstruction, a lot of the water coming down Harris will be directed into the newly constructed sewer. My past experience watching phase 2 is, you know, on the opposite side of Clearview, the trenching was up about 9 feet on the other side. But on my side of the street, on the residence sides of the street, you don't have the trenching. So there actually was very minimal impact when Moranti Construction was in there removing the brick. They didn't dig down, they didn't excavate. They wanted to keep the soils in place because that was less expense for the borough to cart in additional soils and compactable material and gravel. So, you know, initially I just was in favor of a 6-inch bump out, but given the engineer's concerns with the cartway, I think Jacqueline and I would like to see public safety come first and allow for more breathing room for vehicles to make their way back and forth, because, you know, we're gonna have kids, we're gonna have children here in a few years, and we see the kids as it is trying to cross the street there, and the FedEx truck has almost hit the kids behind us, and It's been an issue for a long while in the community on that tight curve, because you've got Harris and Clearview curving in right there. So, you know, if we can help save the trees, improve the traffic on the road, and, you know, hopefully that will slow down the traffic, because right now phase 1 and phase 2 are very nice, that we have a nice surface. However, it's enabled people to travel at higher rates of speed. You know, people aren't going the posted speed limit, they're going 50 miles an hour, and that's something, you know, there's our neighbor's child's right there, and he plays in the front yard, and I've had to yell at people, say, slow down, and people can't see other people coming around the turn, and, you know, people.
We've had that problem.
Yeah.
As we correct roads, it's pretty typical.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
we typically address that by stepping up enforcement of the speed limit. Right? Clearly, we're going to fix the road to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
And if speeding does happen as a result, then we ask the enforcement to increase as well.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in former other meetings, you know, another meeting we'll have to discuss putting a stop sign at the end of Willard, because there isn't one, so it's
Okay.
another traffic issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that had come to talk about trees, they feel like they need to add anything?
I'm Olivia Zatelli, and I'm at 501 Clearview. And he's told you all the reasons, the scientific reasons and all the important reasons, I guess, why this tree should be there. But we live on that street, and that street is a beautiful street, and if those trees are gone, much of what we have and the beauty that where we live is also going to be gone. So from a perspective of us that live on that street, that's why I would like those trees to stay. It's part of why we bought our property. And I would love to see trees in front of all of our houses, and I think the Arbor Commission is going to be working with us on that. But for us to be planting and then tearing down, it just seems to be counterintuitive to what we're trying to do on our street. So I just want to say, we love those trees, and all of us on the street do. And so he has all the scientific reasons why it should happen, but I just have, you know, the visual reasons, and so I just wanted to counter with that.
Thank you.
I just like to say that these,
Can you step up to the microphone?
The aesthetic reasons.
Identify yourself, please.
Robin Anthony, former safety commissioner. I just want to say that the aesthetic reasons also have a value, and mature trees like those London plates can add up to 25% of the value of the home. So it would also increase the home's value, the area's value, the resale value.
Thank you.
Mike Dulles, 509 Clearview Avenue. I had a bunch of stories lined up, but I just want to read the first paragraph of your website. Grafton, PA, a Tree City, USA community, is one of the best kept secrets in Pittsburgh. With its beautiful historic Victorian homes, tree-lined streets, and its safe neighborhoods, it is the gem of a borough just 7 miles from Pittsburgh. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Good job, Mike. Not talking.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Lavasser, 401 Clearview, Schultz wife. I just wanted to say, one of the reasons that we bought the home was because of all the trees. If we wanted to move into a community that didn't have matured trees, we could have gone to one of the new subdivisions, purchased a home out there, but it's the community and the love for trees that you have here and the mature trees that you have, and it's all the reasons that it's important to our ecological system. It's important to the slope that's on the hillside that's on the other side, which is already being impacted by rainwater and by lack of trees on that side of the road. And it's very important to me that we have trees and we have nature around us to be able to enjoy it and to be able to share it with other people, to share it with the younger generations, because you have these new subdivisions that have new trees. They're this tall, and you have these trees that are huge and gorgeous and add so much shade, and you have children who play at the corner of the street to enjoy the shade because the house next door to us doesn't have any trees. They don't have any shade, and so we tend to have most of the kids hanging out playing, riding their bikes, and enjoying that part of the street because there is protection from the sun during the summer months, and it allows for a cool breeze to blow through. And I just really want to say that I do love them, and I really wish that you consider this bump out because it is important, not only for safety, but not only for the beauty of the trees, but for safety, as it will allow for ambulances and fire trucks to be able to go through that neighborhood safely without having to worry about other cars being in the way, parked on the street, and not allowing for the emergency service vehicles to go through. So, thank you very much for your time and for listening to us.
Thank you.
I'll try.
Hi, Tammy Sorko. I live at 601 Clearview. I'm also a real estate agent in Crafton, and I sell Crafton. One of the things about Crafton, it's our trees, it's our homes. And I drive through Crafton with people all the time, and what I'm afraid of, if we start here, is this gonna continue to all the other streets in Crafton? When streets are being repaired, I just think we really need to work together to try to figure out a way to save these trees because it is part of our community. And it does add value. You know, Crystal lives on Belvedere. That street has beautiful trees. You live on Creighton, beautiful trees. When we start taking down these trees, Bradford Avenue, they're all between the sidewalk and the curb. So if you start thinking about it, Alice Street, gorgeous trees. If it starts here, where is it going to end? Are we going to ruin our community? It will deflate all of our property values that live here. So we need to work together.
Thank you.
My turn. My turn. Let me try.
Judy Kushner, Bar Avenue. I live on the street above Clearview, so all these people are my neighbors. And my husband started the Tree Commission in Crafton quite a few decades ago. And so I love trees also. It's one of the reasons I like Crafton and stayed in Crafton all of these years. And not only that, but I started about 8 years ago finding out about the history of the Harris House, which these trees are right in front of. And the Harris House is one of the most historic houses in Crafton because there are 3 generations of Harrises that lived there that were all in show business. They started the first Nickelodeon in downtown Pittsburgh on Smithfield Street. If you go down to Smithfield Street, you'll see a plaque across the street, the building across the street where there's a red awning, and it says this was the site of the first Nickelodeon, and Mr. Harris's picture is right there. And so anyway, this young couple just bought the Harris House, and they are restoring it in a beautiful way, trying to keep all the original things there, and certainly the trees are one of the most original things, and beautify the place even more. So there are a whole bunch of different reasons that all of us are here, because of the house that it is, the street that it is, and our neighborhood, and our love of trees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now my turn.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one brief thing, excuse me. My name is Jacob Goodwine. I live at 325 Clearview, it's across the street from Harris. I wanted to say, if the council were to consider this revision to the Clearview Avenue reconstruction plan, obviously one thing that they might consider against it would be the removal of the parking privileges in front of 401 Clearview. However, as Manager Callen had mentioned in the meeting last week, that would require discussing ordinance changes. In support of that, I would say that while nobody wants to lose parking spaces on what are essentially one-way streets that have to handle two-way traffic, a large majority of the people that park in front of that residence currently do not occupy any residence on the street of Clearview Avenue. I understand that's something that would have to be brought up at another time, but when considering this, please keep that in mind. Through phase 1 and phase 2, we've opened up the remainder of Clearview Avenue, the beginning of Clearview Avenue, with basically primo parking spaces. And if somebody were to say, want to park on the street and then walk down through the walking path and then down across, I can't remember, Crafton Boulevard to their homes, they could certainly do that rather than occupy what is essentially just 5 parking spaces.
Okay,
Thank you. What's that? Jacob. No, I had not signed it. It's G-U-T-W-E-I-N.
All right, there's,
I was gonna say, and Jacob is also representing Joseph and Eliu Anesta. They're the owners of 325.
I'm here on behalf of the landlords, the owners of 325 Clearview, as well as the remaining 3 tenants.
there was another topic, Angela Zanone, I'm sorry, regarding sewage bills.
My turn. It's my turn.
Identify yourself, please, and address.
My name is Angela Zanone. I'm from Raymer Drive in Carnegie. I have 4 units on Woodlawn and 8 on Promenade. My concern is the sewage bills. I had 2 tenants with sewage bills over $300, and that's the first I was notified. I called Jordan, they told me to contact the borough. I called the borough, and they haven't returned my call back. They were gonna look into it and haven't called me back. Why am I getting a notice after $300? Why not 50, 100? It's a single guy. How much water could he be using? It was, he hasn't paid a bill since May of last year. You're gonna leave my property, but you won't give me notice until it's over $300?
Your tenants, are they responsible for the sewage?
Yes, it's in their lease, they pay all their own utilities. But I don't get notification until it's over $300.
Is that a Jordan policy, or is that what the courtesy?
The landlord is ultimately responsible for sewage, but they allow the tenant to put it in their name, then they're responsible to keep up to make sure.
But I don't know that they're being delinquent until,
We're not allowed to do that, we just send the bills to whoever's name the accounts and.
why isn't their water being shut off after they don't pay their bills? Whenever it was Pennsylvania American Water, they used to shut their water off. Why you let it rack up to $300 and some?
The water is shut off after a notice. In this particular case, I'm not aware of this.
I have 2 different tenants that.
If you leave your name and address, I will follow up on this, but this is the first I've heard of
I did call you.
this. When was
You
it?
talked to me last Friday and told me you would be back to me
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday at the latest. That's why I'm here. You never called me back.
Thank you. I've had a number of issues similar to yours, but I need, if you could send me details of how much, and I could work with Jordan, as I have with a number of others.
I mean, I took care of it myself at this point, but I don't want to know when the next tenant is $300 in debt. I want to know when they're 50 or 75, especially when it's a single guy. How much water could he be using?
Do any of your units have hot water heat?
No.
Because I know under this condition, they can actually do water.
I will follow up with you and Jordan again, as well as I have the addresses. Give me a call again, if you could, please. I will follow up.
Just make sure your address, just give me that, let's figure out that one. Okay. I think that is all, for citizen comments.
I would like, if we could, to have our engineers address clearly.
I was curious, I'm looking at the agenda, there didn't seem to be another opportunity for them to speak to it.
At the very end, when that one would be here.
I was gonna cover the report.
Okay, let's do it in the report.
It might be best to cover it now with all the people here, so they're not here at like 9, 10 o'clock.
All right, agreed. You want to cover it now?
Am I going into my engineer's report or just this issue? Oh, there's no engineer's
No,
report.
there's
in this
nothing
meeting.
on there.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I think before I start on the Clearview, there's another item that you're gonna be considering tonight is the Backbone Road speed humps. I just wanted to give you a little input back on that. We looked into that as a result of the mayor's request. There's options to put what you call temporary or bolted down hard plastic type speed humps, or you put them into the pavement as permanent speed humps when you're paving the road. The temporary ones are not meant to be out, they're not meant to be permanent, and they require hundreds of holes to be drilled into the new pavement in order to install them. So we looked at the permanent speed humps as an option so as not to use a temporary measure if that's something that you're considering. I know the concern is the increased speed as a result of an improved pavement. That's a very typical response to new pavement. So looking at calming or slowing the speed of the cars, we talked about in the past, painting the lines, narrowing the width to, instead of having a full, almost two-lane width for just a one-way of traffic, narrowing it to a legitimate one-lane of traffic, maybe painting the opposite side for a bike trail or a walking trail, and then installing the speed humps as well is an option. So if you want that to be part of the design, it's simple enough to include. We can put a bid item in the contract and have the